Hello, my name is Darren James with Darren James Real Estate Experts, and we're here with one of our home inspectors who's going to take us today and go through the home inspection process. His name is Gordon Atwell with A Precision Home Inspections, and we're going to let Gordon tell us a little bit about what's important about a home inspection, why a buyer should have one, and a little bit about his home inspection business.
Well, hello. We want to say greetings to you today and glad to be with you. I'm Gordon Atwell. I'm a state licensed home inspector in the state of Louisiana, license number 10617, and wanted to talk to you just for a few minutes about the home inspection process. Of course, you know the home inspection process, the whole buying process, buying a home is one of the most important decisions that you'll ever want to make. A couple of things about a home inspection. You need to know what a home inspection is not. A home inspection is not an appraisal. An appraisal is where someone comes in and gives you the value of the house, what that house is worth. That's helpful information to you, but that's mainly for the finance company. Now, the home inspection is really one of the greatest things that you're going to lean on in the buying process, because the home inspection process amounts to understanding the condition of the property that you're buying. And it's the condition beginning from the roof all the way down to the foundation and the surrounding property around that home and all of the systems that are involved in that home.
Fantastic, Gordon. What we're going to do today, we're just going to go on a home inspection with you, see some of the items that you check and so forth, and let's give the public a general idea about what's included in a home inspection. You ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Thank you. All right, here we are with Gordon Atwell again, and he's the inspector. He's going to show you exactly what's involved in checking the AC unit, heater and AC unit on a unit itself during a home inspection. So, Gordon, take it over from here, bud.
Okay, your air conditioning unit is one of the major components of your house. Aside from just cooling the house, the air conditioner provides the climate in the house to remove the humidity from your house, which is very important. On your outside unit, which is your condensing unit, you begin by looking and checking the different wiring systems to the unit itself. The lines going to the unit, there should be one line that's insulated, and then you get the information off of the unit. An issue that I find quite often is that a unit has a tag on there and it'll tell you what size breaker, what size electrical breaker that unit should have. Many times those breakers are not sized correctly, which could damage the unit and cause you other problems. So these are different issues. You want to make sure the physical condition of the unit is fine. And then there's always the interior side of that air conditioning system, which we'll talk to you about the interior in a moment. All
right, thank you, Gordon. We'll go ahead and get everything taken apart, and we'll be back here momentarily. All right, we're back with Gordon again, and we're looking at this AC unit on this home here. Gordon, are there any issues that you see? What are you looking for exactly on this unit?
Well, one of the first things that catches my attention on this unit is the electrical wiring. You can see right there where that Romex connector has come loose and you have exposed wires right there coming to the unit. That's something that we'd want to call out and we'd want to address, because that could end up being a safety hazard as well as damage the unit. The other thing that's important is to try to get information off the tag. This tag contains the breaker size, what amperage it should be, the tonnage of the unit, what size unit that you have, so that you can make sure that the unit is properly fitted for the home itself. On the refrigerant lines, this line here, the insulation is loose and it should be placed back on there to keep this line properly insulated, as well as the general condition of this unit.
All right, well, Gordon, we're going to head on inside, and thank you very much for that. We're going to go on inside and continue on with the rest of the inspection. All right, Gordon, we're inside the house now, as you can tell, and Gordon's continuing on with his inspection process. Gordon, what are you going to do now? We've looked at the outside AC unit. What are you going to do now as far as the interior AC unit goes?
One of the ways that you can check the air conditioning unit to make sure that it's cooling properly is you can take a temperature off of the return air supply. You take a temperature off the return air, and then you take a temperature off the supply air. You should have a temperature differential of 14 to 22 degrees. In other words, the air coming out of your vents should be 14 to 22 degrees cooler than the air that goes into your return. If you don't have the proper temperature differential, there's a very strong likelihood that there's an issue with the unit that needs further investigation from an air conditioning specialist.
That's fantastic. And what type of tool do you use to calculate that?
This is a thermal thermometer,
Okay.
And we can get up that, instead of having to climb up on a ladder, it takes the readings of the temperature of the air. We have 75 degrees right there.
Wow, okay, fantastic. Well, let's move on with the rest of the inspection. All right, continuing on with the inspection, Gordon, we're now going to look at the hot water heater of this home and see what things do you look for when it comes to a hot water heater?
Well, the plumbing system is, again, one of your major systems of your home itself. When you're looking at a hot water heater, it depends on what type. There are different types. There are electrical hot water heaters and then gas hot water heaters in our area of the country. There are others, but predominantly here we see electric and gas. When you're looking at an electric, like this electric hot water heater right here, we're looking at the wiring to make sure that it's properly wired. In a moment we're going to look at the electrical panel to make sure that the right size breaker is installed on this particular unit. We're looking for the relief valve right here to make sure that it's properly plumbed to the exterior. If it's not plumbed to the exterior, if that relief valve were to go off, it would empty hot water all over the floor of the interior of this home. We look at the materials involved. This is galvanized piping to this particular unit because this is an older home. Some of the newer homes have other materials. One of the things that your home inspection does is it identifies the types of materials that are involved in the building of that home.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, we'll continue on. Thank you very much. Great information. All right, Gordon, some of the other items that you cover throughout the home inspection, obviously, is all the plumbing. You look under all the sinks and so forth and so on. And what exactly are you looking for whenever you look under a sink of a house?
We're looking not only under the sink, but the upper surface of the sink. What we always want to do is check to make sure that there's hot water coming out of the hot water side. Sometimes plumbing lines get crossed up, but we want to make sure that hot water's coming out, and we're checking the top of this sink right here. We want to make sure that there's no water that's maybe dripping down behind this cabinet that could cause rot, mold, and other issues. And so we're checking the sink, we're checking for functional flow. This sink here is a little bit slow to drain, so we want to note that on the report, that the functional flow of this sink is a little bit slow. We're also going to look underneath this cabinet here with a good light, and we're going to check all of the supply lines. We're going to check the drain lines. We want to make sure that there's no water that's leaking into this cabinet area. If there were water leaking in here, it could cause rot, it could cause mold, and it could cause other damage that would later come back to haunt you if you didn't know that it was there.
Fantastic. Okay, great information. All right, Gordon, we're in the bathroom now of the home. What are some items that you look at in the bathroom whenever you're inspecting a house?
Well, one of the main things, and it may seem simple, we don't think about it all the time, but that's the toilet. And one of the main things is you want your toilet working properly. Now, there are things to check on the toilet that you wouldn't normally think about. First of all, is it secured to the base of the floor? And so you see this toilet here, if you can see this movement means that it's not secured properly to the floor, which means that you could develop a leak. This house is on pier and beams. It could begin to rot underneath this home, and you could end up with potential problems. So as we inspect this toilet, we want to make sure that it flushes properly, and then we make note of that on that report, that this particular item needs attention.
Okay. Anything else that you check in bathrooms while you're there? What about showers and so forth?
We normally check the showers, we check the bathtub, we check all of the plumbing. And another thing that I do is I'm very careful to check around the wall structure, because sometimes there may be leaking that takes place inside a wall, and you don't really know it. It takes really someone with experience to look at the wood or the sheetrock or the tile around it to recognize, wait a minute, there's some abnormal signs here that means there's a potential that this shower or bathtub is leaking.
Fantastic. Okay, good information, Gordon. Thanks again. All right, Gordon, moving on to the electrical part of the inspection itself, what are you checking as far as when it comes to electrical?
Well, when we're looking at the electrical system, first of all, we want to open this panel and see what breakers are on or what breakers might be tripped. If you find a tripped breaker, you really don't want to fool with it because you don't know why it's tripped. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually open this panel up and begin to look to make sure that the wire size matches the amperage on the breaker. That's important because the breaker is set at a certain amperage. If the wire size is not compatible with the breaker, you could end up with a safety issue.
That's good information. Is that considered a fire hazard, Gordon? Or?
It would be considered a fire hazard, a safety hazard. The type of panel is also important. There are certain panels that are older panels, certain panels that are recommended that they be replaced because they've been known to fail. This particular panel is an ITE panel, and it's not one of those panels that are known to fail.
The thing's in there pretty good, isn't it? It's
in there pretty good, and you have to be careful because when you remove this panel face, you could then begin to damage the sheetrock and the paint. So there's a little bit of skill involved to pulling this panel plate off. So one of the things we want to make sure that we do is to trim around this panel here so we don't damage the sheetrock as we pull this panel off. You have to be very careful because when you're pulling these panels off, you really don't know what's behind them. Not only electricity wise, but I have opened them up and opened up wasp nests and mice, spiders, other critters that like to make their home in here. So now we're pulling this panel off. And we're fixing to take a good look on the inside of this panel right here. So we have our incoming power. We have our grounds. One of the things that you want to check for is quite often we find that there are two circuits on one breaker. In other words, that's called double lugging. Now we don't have any of those conditions on this, but you know that's a condition that would need to be called out and corrected on a home inspection report. Basically, these wires here, we have 20 amp. They're copper circuits. We check for what type of material. Is there aluminum wire present? Is it copper wire? What types of wire? What methods have they used in the construction of the home? And this panel here looks good.
Fantastic. All right, Gordon, we're almost finishing up. We just touched briefly on the surface of the home inspection, but I know we wanted to cover some of the exterior deficiencies that may come up during a home inspection. What do you look for on the exterior of the home?
Well, we're looking at the entire, what we call the outer envelope of the home. We're looking at the shingles, how the shingles, what condition the shingles are in, and we're looking at the other envelope. In other words, that fascia board up there is rotten, and that would be something that we want to call out. There's also rotten soffit. We're wanting to also check the windows. There's a cracked pane in that window over there. On a house that's on pier and beams like this, we'd actually, if we could, we'd crawl underneath that and check the pier and beam structure underneath the house as long as it's accessible.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, Gordon, we appreciate your time today, bud, and you did a fantastic job letting the buyers know exactly what to expect during a home inspection. It's one of the most important decisions that they'll ever make in their home buying process. In fact, our motto is, for your protection, get a home inspection. It'll definitely help you with your investment and make sure that you know exactly what you're buying before a buyer moves forward with the purchase. So we appreciate your time today. Again, it's Gordon Atwell with A Precision Home Inspection. Does a fantastic job, and we thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Darren.